Okay, students, this is Dr. Joseph. I want you to look at with me the course calendar of activities. Um, you may have noticed on the second page, I have written some reflection questions. They concern about the humanities. What do we mean by the humanities? I want to share with you a few ideas from an article that I have read that is published by the University of Tennessee. Then I'm going to share with you some ideas, some benefits, okay? Why we need to study the humanities. And then we go back to those questions on the second page of the course calendar of activities. So the humanities include different disciplines. These are the traditional liberal arts. Okay? Here we're talking about philosophy, music, art, literature, religion, ethics, and history. Now, over the years, the humanities have widened so to include other disciplines such as political science, law, archaeology, and anthropology. But traditionally, the disciplines that engage the notion of the humanities include philosophy, music, art, literature, religion, ethics, and history. In fact, in this class, as we explore the concept of the good life, the art of living in contemporary times, we will give our attention to actually five disciplines within the humanities: philosophy, art, literature, religion, ethics, and history. Now, you may be asking yourself or talking to your friends, your peers, why do we have to take this class? Are there any benefits? Are there any skills to gain from this class? Again, let me share with you some ideas which you might find very helpful. Well, studying the humanities is essential because it helps us understand what it means to be human, what it means to be human across cultures, different experiences, across time, okay? And in my notes, okay, I'm going to share with you maybe 5 to 6 compelling reasons why the humanities matter and why they have assigned this course to you. Why this course is included in your pathway. It's because, first of all, the humanities challenge us to analyze, to interpret, to question information from multiple perspectives, from multiple point of views. So the first benefit is critical thinking. The humanities, when we write, when we speak, when we articulate our ideas in a coherent manner and a persuasive manner, the humanities help us to develop, to nurture communication skills. First, critical thinking. Second, communication skills. So the ability for a person to articulate complex ideas like philosophical ideas, religious ideas, ethical, moral ideas. We learn We learn that skill from the humanities. The humanities also prompt us to exercise empathy and to have emotional intelligence. You see, studying different diverse cultures or a culture that is different from our own, or being exposed to a different experience, or learning a different perspective or a viewpoint on a controversial topic. Let's say, does this life have any meaning? Can we be happy? You see, by studying different cultures, by analyzing multiple perspectives, by considering other people's experience, help us as humans to develop empathy, sympathy towards not only other people, other cultures, other people's experience. You see, when we read a novel, when we listen to a poem, when we analyze a philosophical text such as Aristotle's, the Nicomachean Ethics, they allow us to step into the shoes of others. Okay? They allow us to enhance our emotional intelligence and our capacity for understanding and compassion. Another benefit of studying the humanities, I'll give you two more, is to be able to be a problem solver and to be creative. So not only humanities encourage critical thinking, help us to foster empathy and emotional intelligence. The humanities help us to find different ways, multiple ways, to analyze problems and to come up with different solutions to problems. So whether it's a problem in a text that we're reading, whether we are debating an ethical issue such as abortion, euthanasia, you see, the humanities provide us with the tools, with the resources, with the critical process, right, to think ethically, philosophically, and responsibly about moral questions, okay? Moral questions, to be able to solve problems, whether it's a problem at work, whether it's a problem in your math class or your biology class. Another reason that we study the humanities is for us to be able to think ethically. In other words, ethical reasoning. So because the humanities engage the big questions of life, the big ethical questions of life. For example, what does it mean to live? What does it mean to die? Will my choice affect the life of my neighbor? Will my actions have an impact upon my family, my future? You see, these are questions we should consider. These are questions the humanities, when we study philosophy, ethics, history, literature, in particular, they lead us to think about ethical choices. Do our actions have ethical or moral choices? Can we just live the way we want? And these ethical choices are very important if we want to live a good life, if you want to make choices that will contribute to human flourishing and to the common good in society. In summary, I provided you with 5 to 6 reasons why it's important to study the humanities, and I've listed 6 to 7 skills and benefits gained from the humanities: critical thinking, communication skills, empathy and emotional intelligence, ethical reasoning, problem solving, and creativity. I'll see you next time, students.